To our wonderful audience here tonight, hello and welcome to our show, you guys, Moulin Rouge. And then 2020 happened. Unfortunately, in the year 2021, we're still in our global pandemic and we're still wearing our mask, we're still social distancing, and we're not really enjoying live theater the way we should, around people, staring at the audience and just happy to be there. So this was really hard for a theater group here at Bergen because that's what we would live for. That's what we want to show you guys, all the things we created for you. So we had to get a little bit creative to figure out how on earth we were going to show our show for you guys to enjoy. And that's when we figured out we would have a Zoom call instead. And it just would work out perfect. All of our audience members could just see it in the comfort of their own home, and it was just a really perfect thing to express what COVID-19 is like at the time, especially since that's what the majority of our show is about, COVID. So that's what we decided to agree on, and the more we worked on this project for the past 6 weeks, the more I began to see with my own eyes that this was just the perfect show to do at the moment. Just not on a TV, not in a theater, just a perfect Zoom call turned out to be the best thing we could do. And it worked out better that way, actually. So I'm really, really excited to show you guys what we created. Our show was originally a newspaper article written by the New York Times, written by a wonderful writer named Michael Paulson, which then our own professor here at Bergen turned it into a beautiful masterpiece of a script, which we would work on for the past 6 weeks, and we created a beautiful final product for you guys. Quickly, I just want to say my thank yous. I want to say thank you to all the actors who joined the cast. You all did a wonderful job, and this was not an easy project to do at the moment, with no director, no personal contact, no telling you how this should be, what this should look like on a visual, on an audio. Just giving you a script and saying, here, work with it, was not exactly an easy thing to do, but you guys exceeded my expectations so dramatically. I couldn't be more thankful, and I couldn't appreciate you guys enough. You all did wonderful, and you are all so talented and perfect. Just thank you for everything you've done for us. I also want to thank my theater company back at Bergen, who really just, they were really patient with me, listening to me talk for 2 hours, talking about what we could do with this show. God bless you guys for actually sticking through it and listening to everything that went on for the show and how we can make it perfect. You guys were absolutely amazing. I couldn't thank you guys enough for it. You're just the best theater company a girl could ask for, I guess. I also want to say thank you to our stage manager, Vic, for really keeping me organized throughout the entire show. She was really the backbone of this project, and she really kept everyone in line, and that is not an easy thing to do at all. So Victoria, I really appreciate you so much. Thank you. I can't thank you enough. I also want to say thank you to my co-director, Dina, who is also our editor for this show, and she did an absolutely amazing job. She was, in fact, my left brain for this project, since I didn't know a thing about editing, and she really came in and she really worked magic. And even with the late night calls and all the text messages saying, can we do this, can we do that? And she really made it happen. Dina, girl, I'm so proud of you, and you're absolutely amazing. I hope you know that. I also want to say thank you to Professor Jim Baumgartner, who made us the script in the first place. It really was a fun project to do, and it wouldn't have happened if this article just didn't fall into his lap, and he just decided, hey, why don't we do that? And it was amazing. It was an amazing experience working from it when it was just an article to what it is now. He really took a chance on me too when it came to this project, and what more can he ask for when it comes to that? So Jim, thank you so much for everything. I don't know how I could ever repay you for that. You're absolutely amazing. You're practically an angel. So guys at home, thank you so much for hearing me ramble on. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thank you so much for coming again. Bye guys.
From a window in his Hell's Kitchen apartment, the theater director Alex Timbers can see the Moorish arcade adorning Broadway's Al Hirschfeld Theater.
For years, I dreamed of working at the century-old house. And in the summer of 2019, I got the chance with Moulin Rouge. a hot-blooded musical about bohemian artists whose revelry is destroyed by infectious disease. The show, adapted from Baz Luhrmann's 2001 film, was last season's big swing. It cost $28 million to bring on Broadway, and it was shaping up to be a home run. Set in fin de siècle Paris, but supercharged by 75 pop songs, it opened to a rave from the New York Times. "This one's for the hedonists," exulted Ben Brantley, and it was regularly selling out all 1,302 seats, even during a holiday season when it cost $799 to watch from a cafe table, encircled by can-can dancers.
But over the winter, trouble began. The novel coronavirus was discovered in China. The COVID-19 outbreak spread to Europe and then to New York. On the morning of March 12th, the show's producers decided to cancel that day's performances because a cast member was symptomatic. A few hours later, Broadway shut down, and it has been closed ever since. Outside the Hirschfeld, 3 cast stone columns are still sheathed in posters of the show's stars, Danny Burstein, Karen Olivo, and Aaron Tveit, all of whom fell ill. At least 25 members of the Moulin Rouge company wound up infected, making this the hardest hit show on Broadway.
The once glittering marquee, which I looked upon from my apartment window, has been darkened for longer than it was illuminated. There's something sort of grim and poetic about it.
Timbers was among 52 people employed by Moulin Rouge who shared their experiences of the last year by email or by phone. This oral history contains edited excerpts from those exchanges. As 2020 dawned, Moulin Rouge was settling in for what the company hoped would be a long and lucrative run.
The show was on fire, man. The schedule was super hard and I was constantly tired, like a zombie. But my wife and son were visiting from France, and the fact that they were there made everything better.
Yeah, people were coming third or first times. People were bringing their families, and it was so beautiful what it was becoming. Yeah.
In January and February alone, we were preparing for an appearance on Good Morning America, a visit to the Grammys, a performance at a conference in the Bahamas, and not to mention running 8 performances a week. And then once the dust settled, it was full steam ahead to the Tonys.
I was looking forward to playing the show for all of 2020. And hopefully for several years after that.
We were discussing rollout plans, auditioning for the national tour, talking about London and Australia, and even thinking about translations. It was new territory, but it was exciting.
We don't know what sort of damage this virus could do if it were to spread in a country with a weaker health system. We must act now to help countries prepare for that possibility. For all of these reasons, I'm declaring a public health emergency of international concern over the global outbreak of novel coronavirus.
On January 30th, the World Health Organization declared a global health emergency.
We all heard what was happening in China, but that had happened before with H1N1 and SARS. I just assumed it was like that and it would be okay.
I'd read the Hot Zone years ago, and I'm definitely a fan of zombie and post-apocalyptic films. So I was maybe primed to be a little bit scared of diseases that emerged quickly with the possibility of spreading globally.
I became very self-conscious as a Chinese American. Reading and watching footage of hate crimes against Asian folks on the rise, I started to distance myself in public if possible.
My Italian in-laws and friends were sending daily stories of the severity of the situation in Milan and Florence. Hospitals were filling up. The doctors and nurses were overwhelmed.
My father is Sierra Leonean, so we saw Ebola firsthand. Time I reached Italy, I was pretty certain it was coming for New York.
I started taking extra precautions when washing the clothes and covering my hands with gloves when touching the costumes.
Throughout February, members of the cast were getting sick, but many thought it was just a bad cold and flu season. The first COVID case in New York State wasn't confirmed until March 1st.
We have a lot of international tourists that come to the show, and I always do the stage door, and they hug us, we take photos together, and they are just talking right to our faces.
I thought I was getting a cold, and then I became feverish with fevers and chills. And on Valentine's Day, we had a cast meeting, and I was like, I can't go on for this evening's performance. 3 of my best friends were going to be in the audience, but I didn't have the strength. My brain was cloudy.
I lost the whole day. I woke up around 8 or 9. I went to the restroom. I passed out in this chair. And I woke up again around 10:45 that night. And that was the beginning of it for me. The weakness was so bad, I had to hold on to the wall to go to the restroom. And then I remembered I'm asthmatic, so I thought, okay, I just have bronchitis yet again.
I was out of the show for almost a week. I had a worst flu in my life. But it's Broadway. So you come to the show sometimes when you're not feeling so well. I came back to work long before I was better.
I was paranoid I was letting people down, looking like a weak, incapable dancer, a whiner, all the things that so many actors fear. I didn't feel great, but I came back. You're expected to show up.
You're just waiting. You see one person's out for a week, then another person's out for a week. You're like, okay, take your echinacea, your elderberry.
Danny Burstein, who portrays the cabaret proprietor, was performing through a particularly difficult period. His wife, the actress Rebecca Luker, had been diagnosed with ALS in November, and the disease was progressing rapidly.
I was exhausted. I wasn't sleeping. And there's a point in the show when Karen Olivo, as Satine, tells us that she has consumption. And there were times when that really hit home. One night I was so choked up I couldn't speak. Nothing would come out. But doing the show saved my sanity, because I was able to have an escape.
In early March, the cast started to notice a smattering of empty seats in the audience and a few patrons wearing masks. On March 6th, the production barred the cast from greeting fans at the door or giving backstage tours. And then, on March 12th, Tam Mutu, who plays the villainous Duke of Monmouth, told management that he had a fever.
I was headed into the theater to play an ensemble role. I received a text giving me a heads up that I'd be on for the Duke instead. I ate vitamins on an empty stomach, threw them up on 47th, grabbed a smoothie, and started putting on lots of eyeliner.
I was in full drag makeup, ready for the matinee when the entire company was called to the house.
I was holding hands with someone who later tested positive for COVID while they made the announcement we were closed.
And they were like, if anyone isn't feeling well, let us know. I remember sitting there and knowing. I went up to the company manager at the end of the meeting and said, I suspect this is what I have.
We were only told that day's matinee and evening show had been canceled and that we should wait to hear about the rest of the week, and within an hour or two, Governor had shut down all of Broadway.
I left the theater and I sobbed the entire train ride home. All I could think was that I finally made it to Broadway and my mom didn't even see me. She had tickets for March 15th.
So me and my husband just made the risky decision to get out of New York so we could fly to Wisconsin because we were afraid we weren't going to be able to see our kids who we co-parent with their biological mother. So 30 minutes after the shutdown, I grabbed 2 N95 masks. They're in my bag. I grabbed my dog, I grabbed my duffel bag, and next thing I knew, we left.
Those of us in the horn section began estimating how long we'd be shut down. None of us guessed a date beyond April 28, 2020.
In the days following the Broadway shutdown, numerous company members realized they had COVID. Some had mild symptoms, many were quite sick. At least 2 were hospitalized, but all of the company members recovered.
2 or 3 days after everything closed down, I got sick. I had a high fever and aches, but my biggest symptom was complete exhaustion. I got winded even walking to the bathroom.
I was sleeping for 13 hours a night, was very lethargic. It felt like I had chlorine up my nose for about 2 weeks. It was bad, but I was one of the lucky ones because it didn't get into my chest or my lungs.
I was roasting some dried chilies on a comal when my daughter complained that the smell was burning her nose. Well, since I have the nose of a bloodhound, I was confused. I reached under the counter and sniffed the ammonia, and it was like a switch had been turned off. I had zero smell or taste for 4 weeks. One night, I was laying on the floor, struggling to breathe, with the lights really low, and I kept saying, if in 10 minutes it's as bad as it is now, I will call 911. But I was so scared to go to the emergency room. I was sick for 6 weeks. 6 weeks.
I was in the shower and I started coughing up blood, and I thought, this is bad. My son walked me over to the hospital. I was there 6 days. One of the days in the middle was particularly difficult. I made peace with dying because I felt myself going there. I couldn't breathe. I asked everybody in my texting family to send me jokes because I felt the curtain close. And I thought the only way I could combat it was with humor. 20 minutes into Sondheim analysis and chill, and he gives you this look.
I was a textbook case. Not being able to breathe, going into coughing fits. I deal with guilt every day. Thinking about how I recovered because one of my closest friends, Nick Cordero, is not here anymore.
I heard all these people dying around me, and I thought, the longer I stay here, the better my chances of dying. So I basically acted up a storm. Did my deep breathing exercises I learned in acting school. Anything that would help me raise my oxygen level when they were in the room. And I fooled them, and I fooled myself, and they let me go home. My wife wound up getting it as well, we're pretty sure. She lost her sense of smell and had terrible headaches. But thankfully it wasn't so severe.
In late May, a wave of protests around the world began, prompted by the killings of black Americans by police officers. The protests renewed attention to racial injustice in many segments of society, including the theater.
As a black Puerto Rican American, witnessing murder at the hands of America's racist justice system was nothing new for me. But Corona made it different for white America. In America's collective pause, a veil was lifted.
What was shocking was just how many people had no idea that racism was still prevalent in this country.
I was like, welcome. I'm glad everybody's seeing this now.
We wanted to say something publicly, and quickly. But at the same time, I was afraid of looking tokenistic or too self-righteous. I'll be really honest and say I was really afraid of doing the wrong thing.
We held feedback sessions and brought in an outside facilitator. We met with every department head to talk about opportunities on Broadway and on tour.
Having conversations with other Black identified people in the company was helpful for me before I was ready to open up to others. We all came in knowing that what we did not want to do was bear our Black pain over and over again because we were so far beyond that point. We wanted to have actionable conversations.
We are a massive show, and we have a cult following, so we have to take on some social responsibility. Every iota of the production has to be on point. And Moulin Rouge, like other shows, could only benefit from having more people of color behind the scenes, most definitely.
I will say that we could have done better. We should have done better. And we want to do better.
So Eden Espinosa and I started this nonprofit Affect to educate artists about the business. And part of it is educating people to inequities because the numbers are irrefutable.
I started an Instagram video project that I'm extremely proud of called America Learn Your History. In 2-minute episodes, I tell history through a Black Puerto Rican lens.
I just hope that everyone is working to change the industry and not just trying to get back so we can fill our coffers again.
The production has given cash grants of varying amounts to company members and has offered to help those facing financial emergencies. Nonetheless, without a regular salary, many say they are struggling.
It took me almost 20 years in New York to build up a sustainable freelance musician career. Half of it while simultaneously working a day job just to make ends meet. And just like that, it was gone in one day.
Getting unemployment benefits took months. I'm going through my savings at an alarming rate, and I'll have to decide in a few months if I can even afford to stay in New York City. I've looked for other work, but I haven't found anything.
Moulin Rouge was going to be my last show. Win, lose, or draw. I may retire in order to collect my pension. I'm too old to start a new career or a side hustle.
I'm selling patches onto travel bags for way less than what I used to make at my union job. We'll see if I have to leave my apartment that I've been in for 10 years to couch surf.
I haven't had a paid day of work since March 12th, so money is a bit of a constant source of stress.
A substantial number have left New York, at least for now.
New York didn't feel like New York anymore. I got out. I am currently in Lawrence, Kansas, historically an abolitionist stronghold and my hometown. I'm working on a musical about the Harper's Ferry Raid of 1859. I'm waiting out the pandemic here, 2 blocks from my family who I have ignored far too much as I've jetted from contract to contract. We were hemorrhaging money and we needed a stress reliever, so we made the decision in mid-June to move out of the house, put our things into storage, and move to Bozeman, Montana, where I grew up, to be with and near family. It was the best decision we could have made. I firmly believe we would have drowned in debt and stress otherwise.
Needless to say, moving back home at age 26 without work wasn't what I had in mind.
I'm 20 pounds heavier since I was in March, but I'm healthy,
I'm safe, and I'm living like a retired senior citizen with my parents in Toronto. So.
Some, particularly performers and musicians, have found other work. Catherine Zuber, the costume designer, spent months in the Czech Republic working on a film version of Oslo, and Gaujua kept busy voicing Doomfist for the video game Overwatch.
I am currently back out west, auditioning for film and television projects out in Los Angeles. It feels like a shot in the dark to pivot this way in the middle of a pandemic, but it feels like it's my only option until live theater is back.
So beginning in September, small jobs began to trickle in. A recording session, orchestral video shoot.
I spent a good chunk of October in the props department for the live capture of Michael Arden's A Christmas Carol that was filmed uptown. And not a day passed by where you didn't remember we were this small handful of people in our industry of millions working.
I've been extremely fortunate. I shot a Christmas movie in July that came out of nowhere, and I was in Vancouver for 3 months shooting a new musical series, but I'm acutely aware that our industry is gone at the moment.
Many spend time developing new hobbies, pursuing new lines of work, even welcoming new family members.
I realized I hadn't sat still in years, and I wasn't sure I even knew how to.
I've been doing 8 shows a week on Broadway since I was 17. I've lost everything in my life. So, the moment I got better, I was like, this moment is not going to be lost on me. I was a competitive horseback rider when I was younger, so I started riding again. I love archery too, so I bought my very first bow and arrow set. I bought a mandolin too, and started learning how to play. And I also picked up figure skating. And these days, I feel like I'm truly a child at a camp.
I'm currently working on a play with my best friends, making baby mobiles, and putting together some quilt coats. And I've also reupholstered some chairs.
Like many others armed with a fabric sock and a sewing machine, I made masks.
I bought a lot of acrylics and oil paints and set up at the dining room table. I started by painting our cats.
I spent a lot of time at the beach, and I put on 25 pounds. And I still watch way too much TV.
I'm up to 125 push-ups per day, and when I started, I couldn't even do 5 in a row.
I've been having ballet classes with my 3-year-old. I have my own tutu.
My son and I began picking up trash in and around the park. We then tackled the block we live on, weeding the tree lawns and replanting them. People noticed.
The one that stuck was becoming a plant daddy. In April, I started one of those pothos, and now I have like 18 different plants of all sizes scattered around my apartment.
Me and my husband adopted a little baby girl.
Taking care of the little one, my first child.
I think getting a few weeks to rest and reset my body aided in me being able to get pregnant. He was born December 29th. His name is Carver Elijah Pennanod. It's amazing and hard. So many things at once.
So my wife and I had started a very small CBD topical business that mostly served the Broadway community. Since the pandemic began, we have grown so much. It keeps us afloat in terms of finances, and it makes sure that we're happy ladies.
I decided to enroll at Bellevue Massage School out here in Washington State. I very well may have found my post-theater career, but I hope that's a long way away.
What? You didn't think we were going to have the Tony Awards? Of course we're going to have the Tony Awards.
It's just going to be a little different. You see, history has shown us that every great society has had theater at its core. Theater has always and will always survive. Theater is constant. So, from our homes to yours, we are about to cast a light on the great artists and stories that have shaped our lives. Now, when you first receive one of these, the two things you'll notice are the shiny, glistening top and the extremely heavy bass. Now, why is the bass so heavy? Well, it represents the foundation of our theatrical lives, a culmination of years of hard work, collaborations, theater memories, and those who have inspired us.
After several delays, on October 15th, the Broadway League and American Theater Wing announced Tony Award nominees for the abbreviated 2019-2020 season. Moulin Rouge scored 14 nods, including for the show itself, as well as for the actors Burstein, Herder, Engaudjoa, Olivo, and Tveit, who, in a highly unusual situation, was the only person nominated in his category. 10 months after the last performance of the season, an award ceremony remains unscheduled.
A tidal wave of emotions ravaged me. Excitement, confusion, adrenaline. There's no one to congratulate, no show to do at 1,000%, no community, no team. Is celebrating needed right now? I'm swept up. Okay.
I forgot that they were announcing them, but I got a text saying fingers crossed, so we watched it. When I saw my name scroll across the screen, I threw my body up off the couch and hurled out this animalistic, barbaric roar, and I started crying.
I was in Prague and I got a text from Bart Scher saying, "Oh my god, you just got nominated." Felt like for a brief second life was normal again.
It was a strange day because of the circumstance. I was so happy they decided to go forward with it. It was a strange year with a shortened season, but there was a lot of great work done. I've tried to think of my nomination as recognition of my work and the performance, and I did reach out to Chris McCarroll, who was the other person who could have been nominated. I've had a couple of difficult Tony mornings, so I understand what that feels like.
The nomination came on a day that was particularly tough for my wife, when she was choking and gasping for air. My phone was blowing up. How does it feel to be nominated? I'm trying to save my wife's life. It put everything in perspective.
Burstein's wife, Rebecca Luker, died of complications from ALS on December 23rd. She was 59.
You're going 900 miles an hour, and all of a sudden it stops. And it's over, and there's nothing, and it goes to zero. Walk around, and it's just you in space. I have 23 years of incredible memories, wonderful marriage, and a wonderful friendship. And as crazy as it seems, I feel very blessed and lucky to have spent those years with her. But there's a hole in my chest where my heart used to be.
The producers of Moulin Rouge say this fall is the earliest they can envision returning to Broadway and opening in London, and they are eyeing next year for a North American tour. Meanwhile, this month they resumed auditions in Australia, hoping they can open a production in Melbourne in August.
It's full circle. I came down last year to do pre-screens with the Australian casting director, and I was here for a week when Carmen said, "You've got to get out." Now we're literally picking up where we left off.
I'm one of 3 Australians in the Broadway company, so in December I came back to spend the holidays with my family and help run the auditions.
Frankly, it needs to be a much longer process because of safety.
We can see many fewer people at a time, and we have to sanitize the rooms in between. We're going to live stream the final auditions to New York for the creative team.
There's about 400 costumes, and there will be about 70 people working on them. Beaters, crystal applicators, shoemakers, milliners. That's why we're so excited about having it start up.
We've had a maximum of 12 people auditioning in a room that could, pre-COVID, fit well over 60. It's a little different than we're used to with all the protocols, but I'm excited. It's a snapshot into our immediate future.
Months after they recovered, some of the COVID survivors are worried about lingering effects.
Every once in a while, like at bedtime, I feel like I have a 25-pound dumbbell on my chest.
I don't think I have my full capacity back. I've started dancing again, and it just feels like something is off in my chest. Something is off.
I still have yet to go to the doctors to see what my lungs look like right now. But I know I'm gonna go soon, and I'm gonna have someone look at it. I sang a song for a benefit, and I caught it all on tape. And when I looked back, I just saw I was struggling.
I'm terrified because my show is so physically demanding. I'm concerned about what that's going to be like when I go back. I guess we're gonna find out.
The show's advanced sales, once hefty, are now zero. The lead producer says she expects to spend at least $3 million to restart the show on Broadway, but hope is increasingly replacing despair.
That's all we have now, is dreaming.
I'm so hopeful for Broadway's return that I haven't gone to the theater to pick up my things. It's all just sitting there.
I imagine our reopening night is going to be even bigger than our first. The return of Broadway is going to be epic.
The second you hit that stage and you hear the sound of those snaps in the music, you take your first position and everything goes away. You're the baddest bitch there is at the moment, and it's nothing like you've ever felt in your life.
I will be there with bells on. I can't wait.
Having the chance to perform before live audiences again is going to be an incredible feeling.
This is my 18th Broadway show, and it'll be traumatic. No doubt about it. When I see all my friends again and get back on that stage, but that's okay. There's something about the story that love survives. That's worth telling. And it's not just the storytelling, but the friendships I develop over the course of the run. It's the love that you put out and that you receive in turn. That's most important at the end of the day.
you.